sometimes the thing that you do not want to do is the thing that you need to do in order to get exactly where you want to be.
Welcome back. We didn't really want to do this shit at all today.
We sure didn't.
But here we are.
We're making it happen.
Banging out. This is actually the third one of the day. But the theme of this one in particular is doing things when you don't want to do them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? But before all that, Andrew, you want to introduce us, bring us in?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the #1 podcast in the world. My name is Andrew Loringer, and this is
Forrest Knight.
And today we're going to be talking about doing the things that you do not want to do, and we're going to be doing it.
Exactly. All at the same time.
For real. And so this is such an important topic because the importance of doing what you don't want to do is just immense.
Yeah. I mean, the first thing I could think of is like, it's almost like inertia. It's like, there's a lot of effort to like get this started.
Yeah,
right. But like once you're in it,
once it got momentum,
we're rolling.
That's true.
But like, I feel you. Like it'd be nice to just be like sitting,
wouldn't it?
Well, I'm sitting right now, somewhere else.
You know what's crazy is the whole reason that this topic was even sparked today was because I was telling Ford, like he said, this is our third episode today. I was telling him, I was like, bro, I didn't even want to come here today. Like, I just felt like I wasn't in the mood. I wasn't in the mindset. I just was like, how am I not going to be in the mindset? And then I'm going to get on here and talk about mindset. Like, how the hell is that even going to happen?
Right. Because sometimes we're like very inspired. Yeah. We're like, yo, we got to record.
We got to record right now.
That was not today.
No, it wasn't today. But you know what's crazy is that we just pumped out 2 bangers.
We did.
Right?
We did.
And I hope you take the opportunity to go watch those because we feel like they were very good. Yeah. And there was some nuggets, golden nuggets in there. And, you know, that's just a testament of when you don't feel like doing something, you just got to do it anyways. Because some of your best work can come out of your worst days.
It can. So very, very relevant experience. And I relate this to everybody that I'm talking to when it comes to fitness in particular, right? So I ran track in college. I was a sprinter. And I always go back to all of my PRs. A PR is like a personal record for anybody who doesn't know what that means. Most, not all of them, but most of my PRs in track were in days where I just did not want to run. It was crazy. And I always keep that in my head when I'm at the gym now. I work out in the morning, so it's like, it always sucks, by the way. Like rolling out of bed at 5:30 sucks. There's not a day where I've woken up at 5:30. I'm like, woo! Never happens. But when I'm in the gym, like once I'm there, I'm like, yo, I feel good. When I'm about to lift something heavy that I haven't lifted before, and I'm like, maybe I should wait till I'm more fresh or on a better day. And then I always remember that like how I feel, like all of this stuff that I'm telling myself is not what my body can necessarily do.
That's true.
Right? So like what I'm thinking and how I feel is just limiting beliefs, all to try to get me to not even try.
Wow.
But what I know is that in track is like, if I just start running, like once the gun goes off and I start running, because there are some days where, you know, I felt tired, or like maybe the workout during the week, because we still like train, like even when we're in the season, and I'm like, man, I don't know about this 400 today. Like I feel terrible, you know, but I'm also a competitor at heart. And once I'm out there, start running, and there's a dude in front of me, and it's like, I don't want to lose, you know? And so all the gears start firing, and lo and behold, even though I felt terrible, I ran faster than I ever ran in my life. And I feel like that's so relatable, right, to like everything that we do in life. Is like, if you just show up, shit gets done.
That's true.
That's like true. So much shit doesn't get done just because you don't show up.
That's true.
You know? So
we mentioned that before. There was wasn't there a book or something that you had mentioned before? It was like just showing up, or the art of showing up, or
that wasn't me, but it sounds like something I should.
But yeah, I mean, the importance of showing up is huge, especially when you don't want to do something.
Yeah,
just show up, and like magic will happen somehow. And that isn't always the case. I've felt like not wanting to go somewhere before, and then when I went there, I just was like, I killed the whole vibe. You know what I'm saying? Like,
that does happen sometimes. That's happened. You're here and everyone's like, yo,
they're like, this guy is.
Tell I got to leave. No.
Yeah, like, can someone tell this guy to get out of here? Right. No, but that has happened in the past. But those oftentimes were like, I probably actually shouldn't be there. Like, there is no positive reason for me to be there. Like it was probably going out or at a dinner or something, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it was just like, I don't really want to be here. And then
Well, that's not stuff you need to do.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? It wasn't places that I needed to be.
Right.
But sometimes when you don't feel like doing something and you just show up, you will be surprised how you're just going to take off, and you're going to be there and you're going to have the momentum just to get things done. Like you said, like at the beginning, sometimes it's hard to like push, right? You have to put a lot of effort and muster strength in order to get like the inertia of getting a snowball rolling, for instance. You got to build it. But once that thing gets going, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and it just rolls and rolls and rolls. And that's how you have to be sometimes. Like you just have to get that initial push. And once you get going, you're going to be like, oh, that was the best workout I've ever had. That was the best PR. I worked out, it was probably 2 weeks ago, where I finally hit this number that I've been trying to hit on bench press.
Yeah.
And I was like, I haven't been able to hit this at all. And that day I was not in the mood.
Right.
And I put some music on and I was just vibing. And I was like, this feels really light today.
Right.
And I was like, but I still didn't feel like I didn't want to be there.
Yeah.
And for somehow I just put the weight up. And I was like, oh my God, that was super easy. I didn't even need a spot.
And you don't know until you try, right?
You don't
until
know
you actually try to put it up.
But here's the thing. If I had stopped and just not gone because I didn't feel like it, I would have never experienced that. And I would still think in my mind that I can't achieve this.
Yeah. And this goes back to our previous episode, one of our previous episodes about cultivating, right? It's like you're building towards something. So it's like, for me, when I PR'd, and it makes sense looking back now, it's like I felt terrible on that day. Didn't really want to run on that day, but it didn't matter because I've been training for years. I've been training and training and training, and the outcome of training is you run faster, right? So it's like, even if you don't feel it, like mentally, you're still putting in the work, you're lifting, you're working out. So it's like you're just getting stronger. And so it's like it becomes automatic as long as you keep showing up, right? As long as you show up, you know, you throw the weight up. And the inverse is true too. Like I've had times where I felt great, and you're like, yo, maybe it's get a new bench max, right? And you just fail. Yeah. You just don't get it that day. And you're like, man, I ate right. I felt great. Like everything was going, and you're just straining and straining, and it just doesn't happen. Yeah. You're just not strong enough on that day. And that's why it's important to come back next week.
Yeah, that's true. You know, if you don't feel like it. And you know, it's I just thought of the point that I had the brain fart in the last episode.
Oh yeah.
I just thought of it because this is so relevant. So a pastor that I follow called Mike Todd.
Great guy.
Absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
He has this whole sermon series called Planted Not Buried. And going back to the cultivating reference of a seed being planted in the ground, the reaping and sowing, we spoke about this on the last episode. If you plant a seed, think about two things. Sometimes when you're in the midst of a failure, or you feel defeated, or you just got through a breakup or something, you feel like you're dying. Like you feel like this is it. Like the pressure is so immense. I can't. I'm just overwhelmed. I'm dying.
Right.
And if you think about it, when you put a coffin in the ground and you put a seed in the ground, both are identical in nature. You dug a hole, you put both in, you put a dead body in a coffin in the ground, you put a seed in the coffin. Both are under pressure. Both are in the dark. Both have no light. Both have so much pressure from the soil and the roots and everything that's around it that it's like they're both suffocating. There's no air down there.
Yeah.
One of them you water and it just gets wet. The coffin just gets wet and that's it. It has no life in it. One of them, the other one you water, the seed, and it actually grows into something. So, one of them, you got to understand the difference between being planted and being buried, because both of them, the pressure is going to feel the same.
Right.
You're not dying. Sometimes that pressure, you not wanting to do something, me not feeling like coming today, was actually a growing pain of me being like, you know what? I just have to do things that I don't want to do because it's helping my growth. So when you water that seed, the seed ends up taking root and it comes out of the dirt. It comes out of the pressure. It comes out of the dirt and it becomes something beautiful over time. Yeah. But it had to push through all of that soil in order to get there. And I'm sure that wasn't an easy task. Another thing that you have to keep into consideration when you're in that moment is both of these, I could call them characters or traits, but both of these different situations, they're by themselves in isolation. So sometimes you're going to be in isolation when you're going through the pressure and you're going through the dirt. Sometimes you just got to get your hands dirty and push through. Yeah. And you're not going to be alone. But if you use the same reference, think about that seed once it becomes a tree, once it grows, once it becomes something flourishing and beautiful. How many other animals and people and things in the environment actually get to be benefited by this tree. You've got animals that are eating the fruit, birds putting nests in the tree, humans that are getting shade from its leaves and branches, you know, and you have all these other people that create a whole ecosystem around this one tree that was alone in the dirt fighting everything that it didn't want for so long in order to become something beautiful. Yeah. And that's the beauty of being planted instead of being buried, and you just have to switch your perspective.
There's a ton of ways you can look at that. And one of the other things I thought of is like, you know, that tree is in isolation, right? It's if you want to be a tree or join, you know, the rest of the forest, it's like you got to go through that first phase by yourself, right? Yeah. There's really no way, honestly, too. It's like, for the other trees to help, you know, it's like you grow on your own, and then suddenly you're part of this collective of people who have gotten where you want to be, and you can associate yourself with them. But it's like, you know, sometimes when you're starting out, it's like there's no you don't have peers, right? There's no one doing what you're trying to do. And so you're not going to get motivated. No one's going to tell you like, hey, are you going to do that thing? No one's going to have your back. No one's going to, it's just pure isolation, and there's no positive or negative energy. And it's like the only person that's going to make it happen is you, right? That's why showing up is so important. It's like, because you could just not show up, and no one will say anything either, because you're in isolation. Like if you don't do it, no one's gonna say anything.
That's true.
And that's I think that's the really tough thing about probably just life in general. I wouldn't say success. It's just like if you wanna do anything, you know, it's like if it's your idea, it's your idea. Yeah. You know, like you can't be responsible for my ideas. It'd be nice if you were. Yeah. But it's my idea. You know, it's got my name attached to it, and vice versa. It's like if it's your idea, it's your idea. But you know, luckily this is our idea.
That's true. And that's the cool thing is, you know, going back to the tree analogy, I feel like sometimes, you know, you could be surrounded by individuals, or let's go back to the tree analogy for a second. Yeah. So the tree is growing, it's just a baby, and, you know, a massive wind comes or something comes along and it's tilted over completely, right? Yeah. It's either going to grow like that, or maybe there's a nice, you know, farmer or somebody, or there's a forest. This is the tree man. He comes and he puts a stick in the ground and he ties it to the stick so that it can grow straight again, right? Right. And sometimes you need to have those people with you that are going to be like, look, you're kind of fucking up. Yeah. Like, I'm going to be your stick and help realign you. Yeah. You know, instead of helping you grow crooked or just letting you grow crooked, like you need to be around people that care about you enough to, as you do, care about your plants, to put a stick in the ground and be like, look, we're going to go back to being straight. I'm going to tie you up and I'm going to get you back into alignment. Right. Yeah, man. And so that's huge. It is important, like, to push through the dirt, do the shit that you don't want to do on the days that you don't want to do it. And like really just grassroots, take yourself by the bootstraps and get shit done. But at the same time, it's so important to align yourself with individuals who are going to help you get there and stay on the straight and narrow, whatever that looks like for you.
Definitely, man. And that could be a mentor. It could be, you know, a peer. It could be, anyone. But you know, the key there is that the really key thing, going back to the analogy again, is that the tree started on its own, right? And then came along
you mentor. Can't rely on it. If it's not, do not use this as an excuse. If you don't have a mentor, you don't have people around you that are in your corner, do not use that as an excuse.
Because one of the things a mentor looks for is a good mentee. And how do they know you're a good mentee? If you haven't tried, if you haven't failed, right? If you know, a mentor is going to look at you and be like, oh, I can relate to your experience because I've done it. I've failed, you know. But don't go up to a mentor, and people do this to me. I'm sure they do it to you too. And like, you know, just ask like, hey, should I start? And it's like, do you want my permission? Like, yes, you know. Or they'll ask me really, and I answer a lot of questions. I'm not saying like if you ask me questions, I'm not coming at you. I'm here to help. I love helping people. But what I'm saying is, when it comes to starting things, I always apply pressure to people. Like if you tell me you want to do something, be careful, because I'm gonna check in, right? But like it can be very frustrating, especially when people will ask me almost for free guidance and mentorship, or be like, hey, can you trade for me or whatever? And I'm just like, no.
Can you give me your trades?
Do you know? That? Yeah. Do you know how much money I've lost, or like how much time I spend just sitting at my desk, just looking at stuff, just looking at it, just
and all
reading
the books on the shelf,
reading reports, financial reports.
This man, bro, I gotta call you out on one thing.
What's up?
I told this dude months ago months ago, like, I don't understand this shit. I'm trying to trade, like, and it's crazy because I went to school, like, I had the financial advisor, you know, certifications and everything. And it's crazy, but they didn't teach us like how to trade. You know what I'm saying? And so I go and I'm like, bro, I don't fucking understand this. This doesn't make any sense. I just lost all of my money and I'm about to freak the fuck out. Like, I just put all this money into this one thing and it just hit rock bottom. This man dead ass pulls a book off his shelf that's this thick. I'm not kidding you. It's probably 4 inches thick. And he hands it to me and he's like, you should read this book. It really helped me a lot. And I'm like, I'm not going to read this book. Are you out of your mind?
Yeah,
I didn't say that at the time, but I'm like, bro, there's no fucking way I'm reading this book.
It's a thick
First of all,
book.
it doesn't interest me whatsoever. I just want to make money.
In your defense, I have not read that entire book.
I read
bro, most of it.
This guy's like, look at this book on trading. Read this thing, and you'll figure it out. And then I was just like, you know what? That's huge though, because it's like if I really wanted it bad enough, I would be like, you know what? Give me that fucking book. I'm gonna sit down. I'm gonna read the whole book, and I'm gonna get it done because I want it that bad. I clearly didn't want it bad enough. You know what I mean?
But I mean, the same thing would be someone be like, yo, I want to get into mortgages. Can you just like...
No, I get that all the time.
Make me successful at mortgages.
Bro, I get DMs all the time.
It's like, start. Like, have you started? Like, are you doing it? Do you have a business that you need help with, or you just want me to like copy and paste my life for you? Because that's what a lot of it is people saying like, I don't even want to plant that seed. I don't want to do any of that unless it's a sure thing. I don't want to get bent in the wind. Nothing. You've got it figured out. I want to plant the seed, and I want you to just make sure I grow into a big, strong tree with no pain. And it's like, nah, dude.
We want that in everything. We want that in our relationships. We want that in our, in our businesses. We want that in our friendships. We want that in everything that we touch. We want that certainty. We're people that crave certainty, but as entrepreneurs, we don't have that.
You just don't. And, one of the things, like, I've spent a lot of time, and there are people that I have helped that I know, like, there's a buddy of mine who wanted to learn how to program, right? So I have a background as a programmer, software, and tons of people have asked me to teach them, right? But this one individual in particular would spend a lot of time every week, like grinding and like learning. And I knew because he was like, yeah, I spent like 4 hours last night, 5 hours working on this problem, trying to figure this out. And I spent a ton of time for free helping this person to actually become a programmer because they were already doing it. They were grinding. And that's I didn't have to have that conversation with them of like, yo, you're going to have to work hard. People ask me like, yo, I want to learn how to program. It's like, yo, we got YouTube. Like, what is the point of this conversation other than you just trying to like talk to me? That's what it feels like sometimes. It's like, you just want to talk about an idea and I'm going to make you feel good about it. And then you're just going to not go do it. It's like, look, if like you could start, it's going to suck, like you said, like it's going to just suck for a while. Yeah. It's going to suck. There's no easy way to learn how to program. There's no easy way to, get good at mortgages. Like, it's just going to suck. And I'm sure you're much more likely to help somebody if they're like, yo, I've been grinding, man. And they lay out exactly what that means. It's like, I tried this, I tried that. I talked to so-and-so. I did my marketing like this. I'm doing these types of posts. Because now you're like, oh, well, you can readjust this. You should talk to these type of people. If someone's like, yo, I spent 7 hours working on a problem, I'm like, yo, describe your thought process. Did you whiteboard it out? Did you break it down? It's like,
but you can't just DM and be like, hey, I'm really interested in getting in, or doing this or doing what you do. Can you teach me? And then it's like, crickets. Yeah. And then I'm like, I see the guy at the club, like on his stories or whatever, and he's like getting hammered or whatever. And I'm like, bro, I'm literally busting my ass still 6 years into the business at 9 o'clock at night. I was working till midnight the other night on a call, and I'm like, the dude's out partying. He doesn't want it bad enough. Just like I didn't want to know how to trade bad enough.
Yeah, you got. It's
a great idea. It's a great concept. Like, oh, at night I could just trade. Yeah. But then I'm like, dude, I clearly don't want it bad enough if I didn't sit there, read the book, ask for instructions, do my own research, do all this stuff. Like, it's clear, and I could admit that I did not want it bad enough. And sometimes you need to admit to yourself that you don't want something bad enough, and go find something that you do want.
Exactly.
Because when you find something that you do want and you have the balls to push through the dirt to get where you want to be, you're not going to settle for small failures or small losses or people that are talking shit or, whatever the case is. You're going to push through because you want that thing bad enough.
Yeah, man. That's a word right there. I mean, this podcast, we started saying we didn't want to do this, and here we go. And like, but this podcast, honestly, like I've always had a passion for, sharing my voice, entertaining, communicating, right? And I think you have a lot of that overlap. So it's like, this is a lot of work, y'all. Like if you see the outcome, like the final product of this that you're watching on your screen right now is, us filming this, all this setup, building the backdrop, sending it off to an editor. They edit it. And
there's a whole team working on this stuff after.
Yeah.
After the cameras turn off, there's a whole team that works on this stuff.
Right. And we could just not do this, but, there's two things. Is one, we really want to do this. And so we just got to do it. And I mean, you just got to keep showing up. It's the only way it's going to get done, right? We could just not do this and no one would say anything. Like if we stopped, like no one would say anything. And that's so much of life, right? Like if you stop doing mortgages, like
they'll find somebody else.
Right, they'll find somebody else. Yeah. But like if you really want to do that, same with me doing sales, trading. Like if I stopped trading, like no one would be beating my door down, right? Like at all. It would just be quiet. So yeah, I mean, we could go on and on about this, man. What should we leave people with, right? If you're a young girl out there, you're a young guy out there, they're struggling with just showing up. It's like I'm stuck in a rut. It's like I always think about it. I'm watching YouTube videos, and I really want to change my life and start showing up. Andrew, what do you think that person should do or think, or what's step one?
I think the first step is to turn all the noise off. You can only watch so many YouTube videos. You can only listen to so many podcasts. You can only listen and intake so much information before you're going to just not do anything. Because that's what happens. Like just with this podcast, for instance, this was an idea that we sat in the kitchen and had in 24 hours or so. You had bought all the equipment.
Yeah.
And like by the end of the week we were recording and we had our first episode ready to go. Right?
Yeah.
There was no thought. There wasn't like me. I'm guilty of this. I would have sat there and watched every video. I would have, looked at all the equipment, the specs and all the different things. And it would have been 2-3 months and nothing would have happened. I guarantee you. And I'm okay admitting that, but I'm going to be raw and honest with myself and with everybody else. And Forrest took the reins and he said, no, screw that. We're going to go right in. This is what's happening. Boom, boom, boom. And he just got it done. Right. So sometimes information can actually be kind of a cast. It can kind of hold you back.
Yeah, it could be.
It can be a drawback if you have too much. Sometimes you just need to take what you have because what you have is enough, and you need to just go all in and say, "This is what I'm doing. This is the first step, and this is what I'm taking today."
And I ain't gonna lie, like you'll make mistakes. Like the flip side of that is right. So we did get it started, but I did buy some stuff I don't need, and I'm trying to get rid of now. But we got it out there. Like it got us closer to the goal, and the good thing about, our partnership on this is that we bring the two different sides, to the table. And ultimately this wouldn't exist. I mean, I can't do a podcast by myself, right? And neither can you. Exactly. Like this podcast is the genesis of both of us, having that idea, but that's how it's going to be. It's like when you jump in, we're on episode, this is probably like the 11th one we filmed. Probably won't be episode 11 when it gets out there. I think there's a few that we might take out of rotation, but we did one on cryptocurrency, specifically on Dogecoin, which is just very outdated. Not going to post that one, but basically we had some Dogecoin. Back to this topic though. What was I saying? What was I just talking about?
I think just getting shit done.
Yeah, just getting stuff done.
Yeah, and again, sometimes, and sorry to cut you off, but
no, you're good.
There's a point where sometimes the thing that you do not want to do is the thing that you need to do in order to get exactly where you want to be.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's that simple. Sometimes there is a specific thing and you probably know what it is. And if you do, I'm speaking directly to you. There could be something that you do not want to do and you've been putting it off. And that exact thing is what's going to get you to the next level. That exact thing is going to get you where you want to be. And I'm probably going to listen to this a month from now or whenever we drop this episode or sooner. And I'm going to be like, you know what? I know what that thing is. I need to do that.
I know, man.
So we preach to ourselves. This is stuff that we deal with every single day. There are things that I do not want to do tonight. And I know that I'm going to do them. And it's going to get me closer to my goal. And that's just what it is. It is what it is.
My battle, personally, is when we stop filming, it's like, am I going to upload all of these tonight? I always wait days, because I really, Andrew, I'm telling you, brother, I do not. I got to take the video off of that camera. I got to take the video off of that camera. I got to take the video off of your camera. and I got to upload all
and
this
the
shit.
audio off the
One at a time. I got to take the audio off of there.
off the road.
Upload, like label it, upload it, send it to the editor. And I could just do it. I mean, I could do it on like Wednesday or next Saturday, but I'm going to do it tonight. I'm going to make a promise to do it tonight. And if I don't, you'll never know. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But, nah, man. I mean, that's so true, man. Like the things that you don't want to do, make the smallest difference. And that sounds really trivial, y'all. It is, but like staying organized when we have so much, like this isn't the only thing that I film. So it really is a big deal. Like getting it just off to where I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to, remember, accidentally delete what's on that camera, right? Like the small things are so critically important, just getting them done. And they make a huge difference in success, right? Especially if you look over like what you're doing over a year, right? That's what did you do? And this is one of the things I love asking people is like, oh, you're not getting closer to your goals. You're having a bad day. It's like, what do the last 7 days look like? What do the last 2 weeks look like? What have you done over the past 2 weeks, right? And if you add that up, maybe you deserve to have this kind of day, right? And I think about that for myself too. It's like, man, like this weekend isn't going how I want it to, or, I'm not where I want to be. And I'm like, okay, well, if I don't take myself out of this moment, what have I actually been doing over the past 2 weeks that should prepare me or better prepare me for this, right? Is there something I could have did yesterday, right? Whatever it is, it always adds up. I firmly believe life's not fair, but, in the end, everybody ends up where they deserve to be, right? You might not start out, in the best position, but it's going to shake out, right? Life's a great sifter. It will sift you through, most people at least, and if you're watching this, that applies to you. You are where you're gonna be. I mean, at my age, at 30, I'm not perfect. There's a lot of stuff I wish I did better, but ultimately do think that I am where I deserve to be. Like honestly, like I am at the result of my efforts. There's a lot of things I could have done better, done more of. Didn't do it, but that's why we have this podcast to become the number one version of ourselves, Andrew.
It's true.
Whew.
Yeah, man.
Should we wrap it on that, or
I
what do
we
you?
should wrap it on that. That was a solid close.
Cool, man. Tell them what they should do.
Please do us a favor. Like this. Subscribe to our channel.
Do it.
Turn on the bell notifications if you feel so inclined. And please share this with a friend if you found anything insightful that helped you or you think could help somebody else. We certainly appreciate you tuning in to the number one podcast in the world. I am Andrew Loringer. Instagram, Drew's the Move.
Forrest Knight. Instagram, Forrest the Investor.
And we look forward to having you on the next one.